For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber. Instant analysis of USC's 7th practice of spring. Shoulder pads only today. It was a pretty nice day for football. Nothing too notable from practice. It ended kind of short, 2 team periods. Still expecting more from the quarterbacks. I'm not sure we saw the best day today, but it was a pretty good practice overall.
Yeah, I think they're getting more. We didn't see the ball loose. We didn't see the, as Clay calls them, the hot and high snaps, which he said, we kind of think the quarterbacks, if it hits their hands, they still should catch it. But we're not going to. So as to Friday and not, coming down on him, he said, we're not going to come down on that. And it didn't seem to be a factor today. It actually, by the end of practice, got really hot. I mean, that sun was beaming down. We had a couple of guys dizzy and a couple of little pulls among, let's see, and Michael Pittman doesn't have his shoulder pads back on yet. He got to do pretty much, but with the AC sprain, he said they haven't told him if it's going to be next practice or the practice after that where he gets to put his pads back on. But we had, let's see, we can remember these, Dominic Davis and Joshua Matterbaby and Tyler Petit, Jaquari Godfrey, and for the life of me, I don't think I can remember the 5th. It wasn't anything serious, wasn't anything you even noticed. Just said by the end of practice, they said, "Yeah, don't do anymore." So wasn't one of those practices. Jacob Lichtenstein is still out. Austin Appleby, Jake Russell. That's about it for the guys who aren't putting pads on yet.
Mm-hmm. We saw, Dan's a little sick too. We saw both Matt Fink and Jack Sears today. Fink was second team, Jack Sears was first team, so we saw a little switch there. You got to talk to both quarterbacks. What they have to say about today?
Well, they do talk about the challenge that it is to go from first to second or second to first, and they went back and forth during the practice too. I mean, they would, Matt Fink would have, I think it was 4 for 4 one time there with the second group, and he stayed in with the first group when they came in, when they were going ones on one. So, and as Matt says, you got to know who you're throwing to. It could be, Tyler Vaughns or Michael Pittman. It might be a walk-on. And he said, you are aware of that. And so he said that takes a little bit, getting used to that back and forth. But I think that's a good thing for them to be able to adjust to those kinds of conditions.
Mm-hmm. We got a rare appearance from Neil Callaway. We got to talk to him after practice. What did he have to say?
Well, it was interesting. He would get asked questions like, well, you got Austin Jackson and Clayton Johnson kind of sharing that left tackle spot. Who do you think is going to emerge there? And he said, that's up to them. It's not my call. We're going to let them decide. I like that kind of stuff. As to who's really jumped out this spring, though, he and then Clay followed with the same answer. The 2 young centers. They got punch and the pop, and they're quick, and they're not missing any assignments, and they're going up against guys like Brandon Peely. So both coaches are real pleased with the work of the 2 centers. Mm-hmm. And the young centers. 2 freshmen basically, 1 red shirt, 1 true freshman. So that's a positive for sure.
Mm-hmm. We got to talk to Bryan Ellis today, the quarterback's coach. He said he's having a little bit of difficulty focusing between family and football. His first child is due in a matter of 5 days. Right. He said an assistant is tasked with the job of monitoring his phone during practice, and if it goes off, he's going. But it was interesting to hear how he's kind of gelling into his role as quarterback's coach for those young guys. How do you think he's done so far?
He's good. I mean, I talked to Jack Sears said, it's interesting, between plays, you're hearing the voices of Clay and T. Martin, the offense coordinator, and Bryan Ellis. So I asked Matt Fink, you're hearing these 3 voices, whose voice is in your head? He said, oh, absolutely, Bryan Ellis. So as Bryan says, he's kind of a quiet guy, but that's the voice you want in the quarterback's head. And Matt said, that's who I go to. And so I thought the composure that they showed today, and I know they scrambled and they made some plays Friday. I just thought their composure today, I really liked their composure today. I mean, they're running for their lives a little bit. I know they're not, getting down on the offensive line. But as Clay said, we're giving them tough looks. We're giving them blitzes from the first group. And so they've got people coming at them hard and right now. And Clay said, I wish we'd have completed a few more passes, but they got the ball to the right place for the most part, and they got it out quick. So that's all good.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you about the defense, though, because it seems like they're really starting to click, especially once you go to the 2D, the younger guys. They seem to be kind of finding their way as far as the defense goes.
It's got some pretty good guys on that, on that second deep. I mean, very often you'll have maybe Brandon Philly as that second nose guard, or, a true freshman like Talanoa Hafanga at safety, and he is just a really good player. I mean, and he was winning. I mean, they broke up into 5 lines to do grass drills and run at the end, and he's, he just runs so easily. And, he's listed 6'1", 215. He doesn't look that big because he moves so well. But there are guys that you just think have to be able to play. They mentioned Connor Murphy. We haven't heard that Connor Murphy, that they're feeling real good about him showing up. So, I mean, the defense is having a good time, and they're playing hard. They're feeling good about themselves, and I like the way they're coaching them. I mean, we had maybe don't totally agree, but I just think the level of stuff that Ronnie Bradford is working on with the corners, and getting them to get their hands off and just use their athleticism against cuts, and not to worry so much if a guy gets a half a step on you and all that kind of thing. Get rid of those penalties. I just think they look like they're doing things that you kind of want them to do, and realize, look, you guys can be as good as anybody in this secondary, and you don't have to take chances. You don't have to grab people. You don't have just play. Trust your athleticism. A guy like Biggie, a guy like Marvell Tell. I mean, just trust your athleticism. Another guy Clay mentioned today that he really liked is back is Jonathan Lockett. Another, missed last year with hip surgery. And it's good to see he does things that, play it against the fade, for example, playing it strong, not backing off, but not, committing a penalty. That's not easy to do, but it's a lot easier to do when you're a senior and you've been out there before and done that in games.
Mm-hmm. We're getting to halfway through spring camp. Today's practice wasn't the most notable. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
I like their enthusiasm. I like the way they're going after things. I like it that after practice and Clay's checking out, I guess, 12 guys to see if they were where they're supposed to be in the huddle, and all 12 of them were there. And they were all cheering when each name he'd call out, and guys stand up. And so they got 12 out of 12. And they were very pleased with that. I like that kind of upbeat stuff. And I like the way they go after the running and the grass drills at the end of practice. They go hard, and they're really we had a great way to end today with Giuliano Falanico, who really probably thinks he should win his group. And so he goes one time, and he jumps. They go 10 yards, and then they get down, and then they can't go till they whistle. And then he jumps, and then, of course, he has to go back, and by the time he goes back, he's they're all running, he's last. So they make him go again, and he slips. First step, he's, boom, flat on the ground. So now he's going 3 times, and he was going with 3 offensive linemen in the very last group, and he won. He didn't take any chances he was going to fall or anything. He just took it nice and easy. But that's fun. That's kind of neat that he took it that way, that they all took it that way, that he's trying to be first and thinks he should be first, and he should with his athleticism. But I like the way that worked. That was kind of a nice way to end practice.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's going to wrap it up for day 7 of spring camp. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.